There we go. Okay. So we are live and back. Today is April 10th. It's going to be just Steve and I today. And just as a very brief reminder, like we do all the time, this is not financial advice. This is us just sharing our journey going from $250 to a million, depending on, we have no idea how long it's going to take. We're just documenting our journey, what we're learning, and sharing that information with you so that you can benefit along the journey as well. But the ultimate goal here is to have you join us and go to q2am.com. You'll see it in the corner. And reason being, you get access to so much being part of this community, and we are sharing only just bits and pieces of what we have time to do and what we're able to share. But there is a massive community here that is providing significant opportunity and education that can really change people's lives. So, with that being said, we will get into the market today. I think, Steve, you agree. First thing we should do is start with news and just take a look at what's going on.
Yeah, we usually start off like on Friday the night before in a recap because we usually
Yeah,
have
good
a
call.
class with Donnie Pips, our trader.
Yeah,
Last night we didn't, so we don't have anything to report there.
good
So
call.
we're gonna go straight up there. And one of the things we've talked about is the news and how
Mhm.
that is on the dime can affect the market. Case in point was this week where we had the president imposed an 8 o'clock deadline on Thursday, and at 6:30, called an audible
Yeah.
for those people that play football, which some people were ready for and some people weren't ready for, at that time.
Yep.
So, we've seen that. And one of the things that we look for right now is just no news. Things can just be steady.
Mhm. Yeah, and one of
Yeah,
the things, yeah, I was gonna say we touched on yesterday with regards to that I think is so worth repeating is that if we can trade and succeed and learn during these extremely volatile times,
right.
that
Mm,
when things do slow down and there is weeks of just normal news without maybe world impacting news on a daily basis, or should I say on a sometimes on an hourly change, depending on the day.
right. Mm,
Yeah, it's gonna be fun because we're handling all this volatility and still doing well. I
right.
think it's very hard for a lot of other markets where you're getting caught in swings, and if you're in long-term purchases or long-term situations, um, that can be pretty daunting for a lot of people, and that's why a lot of people got out or a lot of people double down on things. And the benefit of what we have, as we've alluded to before, is we can significantly profit on the swings. We just have to be aware of them and be
Right.
responsive. So let me share my screen here. We'll just go over the some of the news that we have today right here. Okay. So we can see this. So here's what we have for the news today. So again, I'm going to focus on euro and the dollar because that's what we're trading the most. There is Canadian news, and as we've talked about before, sorry, I just wanted to refresh that.
Mhm.
So yellow folders, lowest importance, orange folders, medium importance, red folders, high importance, and those high importance can have a bigger impact. So you just take a look at it. Okay, so the first thing, Germany reported its final customer price index month over month. It's pretty much exactly on forecast. That's not going to do anything. Dollar core CPI month over month down. It's only down a tenth, but it's still down below the forecast. It's what it
Right.
was the previous month. They were expecting it, and obviously that's bad for the economy, hence the red. But again, if you want to click this folder right here, and we're just on forexfactory.com, this is available for free for anyone. Just gives you a little hint here. So it's the change in price of goods and services purchased by consumers, excluding food and energy. A number greater than forecast is good for currency. It's released about 11 days after the month ends. Okay. So that's what we're taking a look at here. But quite frankly, you don't need to know all that. All you need to know is it's a red folder and its indication is lower than the forecast. So that's going to negatively impact the dollar. CPI month over month and CPI year over year, both down. Now, again, only down, all three of these are only down 1/10, but they're still down. Okay. So it's something, it's not a major swing, but it's still something to pay attention to. Now, here's something that's of interest is preliminary, here, let me go fire it up just so you can see. So the University of Michigan provides their preliminary consumer sentiment. Okay, and again, actual greater than forecast is good for the currency, and this is the level of the composite index based on surveyed customers. Okay, so this was supposed to be 51.6 based on the forecast. It had previously been 53.3. It's down to 47.6. Okay, so that's almost a 6 point swing since
Right.
since last month, and it's like it's basically 4 below, not 4/10. It's actually 4 below percentage. It's 4% below what they were expecting. And the preliminary University of Michigan inflation expectations, it was 3.8, and now it's 4.8. Now, I don't see a forecast here, but inflation is up. Okay. And that's something that we expected would happen, but it's something that still can impact the economy. So that's the Forex Factory news that I look at first. I do that every morning. And then I just go here. This is finviz.com. Again, this is free. We go to Finviz, you click on news right here, and it takes us to this page. So Trump is rebuking what other what would you call them? Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and them? They're broadcasters. So he's just kind of fighting back over them, which really doesn't matter. He's a president. Doesn't matter what they say. He can do kind of whatever. Like, they're going to argue back and forth no matter what. See things completely different. As I said, very volatile times, very volatile politically, very volatile geopolitically right now. And it just kind of is what it is. It's not going to change.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan or Megyn Kelly, they don't change the market when they talk.
Right. But I mean, their opinions are valid, and there's a lot of people that subscribe.
Correct. Yeah,
they're
broadcasters, and they have very large followings.
Right.
In millions of people, so they do affect opinions.
Right, but as you said, they don't impact the entire market with their comments.
Right.
Whereas the other day, when President Trump said an entire civilization is going to die tonight, yeah, that kind of impacted things.
Right.
And then set off everyone else. So that was kind of the catalyst for this. There was already a lot going on, and then it was like, yeah. So right here, like stocks eye best week since May. Why? Because of the ceasefire. Period. Because the Strait of Hormuz was being opened. Now, I'm going to show something on that in a minute, as we can see the impact that can have, and then what happened yesterday. So another thing too, I mean, this is a big deal, and it's kind of got pushed under the rug due to the fact that the war's been going on. Like, my son didn't even go over this in school, the Artemis 2 mission, and I think this is a major, major mission. Personally.
You know what? Last night, I'm sorry, this morning.
Yep.
I saw some clip. I didn't catch it, but it was like, did it land?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. It's landing today. I don't know if it already did.
Oh, I thought it was yesterday. I thought it was splashing down yesterday in the ocean.
I thought they said they were splashing down on Friday. I know last night around 8 p.m., my son and I they were like 120,000 miles away, but they were going 3,300 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So.
And what you said, I thought was like, wow, that got lost in the news. And
yeah.
And that I didn't hear about it. I just, like, it was a personal thing. Like, wow, like, I didn't even pay attention to that, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, but people, it's stage one, and if you've taken any look as to what they're kind of deeming it the new NASA, and I'm not going to go off on a complete tangent, but just this because I could, but what I will simplify is this. Before, it was the space race between the U.S. and Russia. Now it's a space race between the U.S. and China.
Yeah.
Okay. So they've kind of taken the old process and put new leadership in, and they are committed to Artemis 2 just went all the way to launched into space and went 2 rotations around the Earth. And then it's slingshotted around the moon to the dark side of the moon, went further than any human has ever gone into space. But they actually were able to document the other side of the moon, which we've never been able to do before, and grab a bunch of great pictures. So that is pretty significant. Now, Artemis 3 is going, and they're testing the Artemis 3 is going to go, and it's going to test the ship launching, and then also connecting to the ship that's going to go to the moon, that's going to take them to the moon. And then Artemis 4, and that one's going to be next year. And then Artemis 4 is, I believe, 2027. I think it's 2027 or 2028. It's like every 6 months is how they've scheduled this out. And that's where they're actually going to send people to the moon, and they're going to start the setup for what they're going to do to establish energy and establish a base camp. And they're talking about all the different things, and they're testing a lot of that now. But then they're going to be doing every 6 months where they're going to be sending people back and forth to the moon. So this is a continuous thing that they have, I think, 35 missions planned, ballpark, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So
Right.
this is only the infancy of this entire project. But right now we're ahead of China. We'll see what happens with that. But that's a big deal. That's a big deal because a
Yep.
lot of the technology that we use in aeronautics and we use in a lot of different things come from these missions and what we learn.
Yeah. People don't know that history on that.
Mm,
It's like a lot of our technology, through the 60s, 70s, 80s, all came out of the space program.
right.
That was the leading indicator. I mean, the lead generation for technology coming through. But,
Yep.
in terms of, I think a big safety factor would be that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos can go up in their ships that they create and prove to everybody that they have faith in what they've built.
Well, they were actually talking about that, about the SpaceX and the Boeing are battling right now to see two things. Number one,
Right,
which one is going to be chosen to go to the moon? Because it was SpaceX got the contract, but now the two of them are battling to see which one's going to be the most efficient.
right,
Second, and then the second thing is, yes, they're talking already about two. I think Virgin has it. I think Bezos, and I know I'm Musk, and I think someone else too. I think there's Boeing might have it too. I think there's 3 or 4 different vessels that are talking about bringing people to the International Space Station, or taking people into space, or potentially docking with the International Space Station.
there's another company out there that's advancing rapidly with spaceships, and I can't remember the name of it. And I caught it on 60 Minutes like a year ago.
Huh. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'll have to
I
look
didn't
that
want
up.
to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, and it was a startup, and just their efficiency and how rapidly they've come up.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, the name escapes me at the moment. I'll try to find it another time.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, the important thing for everyone to see here is, like, we're just talking about news. That's a big story. Landing back safely today is huge. There's some really good stories. I recommend checking that out and checking out some of the pictures that they had. It was pretty incredible.
See, one of the space things, you're you're younger than me, and I don't remember the year, but there was one year that astronauts went up, and for a period of time, they didn't have any communication with them,
Yep.
and they thought they might would be lost in space.
Yep.
And I don't remember the year that was, but right when that was happening, there was the TV show Lost in Space.
Right.
With the flying
Yeah.
saucer spaceship, and Will Robinson and the robot, and and that debuted that week.
Did it
Um,
really?
yes, yep,
I didn't know that.
yep. It was strange because you know like prime time, like at 8 o'clock, on one of the three networks, because that's all we had. And I remember our parents let us stay up and watch it. And I remember my mother saying, this is just like the astronauts up there. They're lost in space right now. They didn't have any contact. And then all of a sudden they made contact and they got back down safely. Yeah.
And that was the one. That was the one where, yes. So the first time I ever heard the phrase, they're going to slingshot around the moon.
Right.
That's what the brilliant engineers at NASA did for that, because they actually had failure on, I want to say, one of their engines, or their boosters, and they didn't have the ability. And that was
Okay.
what I think the failure was. And
Right.
someone realized that if they could get into moon's orbit, it would slingshot them around the moon and back towards Earth. And then they could live off the minimal power that they had, or the minimal thrust, to
Yeah.
get back there, which is ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's cool as hell understanding that, but that is just remarkable. That was back in, I think it was like early 70s, wasn't it? Very early 70s, very late 60s. I think it was. I think it was very early
It might have,
70s.
yeah, it might have been in this, it might have been later, it might have been 68 or 69, not even in 70.
Yeah, because let's see, I'm trying to remember which Apollo mission that was. So it's 13. Yes, Apollo 13, April 1970. Yep. So I think that was it. And
Okay.
actually, there ended up being a movie about it. I want to say no, I don't know. Who was in it? I wanted to say
Is that the
somebody.
Tom Hanks one?
Yeah, I think so. Apollo
Mm,
13.
okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to say Hanks, but then I'm like, well, I'm like, how many space movies is he in? I'm like, no, I think that's the only space movie he's in. Um, yeah, but needless to say, interesting information and really fascinating what we're able to do. My favorite story about that is I don't know if people know this, but in the fallout of Nazi Germany, we took some of their best engineers, and one of them's name was Werner von Braun. And rather than face war crimes and a lot of things for being part of the Nazi regime, which he was pulled into, the U.S. had him come here, gave him amnesty, basically, or
Yeah.
and agreed not to charge him, and then had him head up our NASA program. So President Kennedy went to Werner von Braun and said, "What will it take for the U.S. to put a man on the moon in the next 4 years?" And the answer was the will to do it.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite answers of all time because it has nothing to do with technical. It's just the will to do it. And then again, they made it a priority, got people together, and then President Kennedy's favorite speech is we're going to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And he kind of went into it, and it's pretty remarkable what we did back then. But this is now building on that, and the pivot has gone from Mars to the moon. But they are talking about potentially building out like launching. So people would go to the moon and then go to Mars, and then it would leapfrog, land on Mars, and then establish a settlement there, and then go from Mars to other planets. So that's what the bigger picture is. Needless to say, it hasn't had a major impact on the market because everything else that's been going on. U.S. consumer fails to record low. Iran war blamed. Yeah, consumer sentiment's low. Prices were up this week again due to the ceasefire, but yesterday there was some concerns about the validity of the ceasefire and who's keeping their word, who isn't, and all that. So there's going to be still some back and forth, but if we just look at one thing really quick, you'll notice even in the price of oil, it reflects what was going on from that consumer sentiment. Where I'm going to go back to I'm on the daily. I definitely don't want to be on the daily. Okay. So the 4 hour. So you can see this is where we were. The announcement was made right here about the ceasefire. 4, 8, 12 hours later, in this time frame, we're down here. We're in this time. We're in the okay, then it comes back up to here at the end of like 12 hours. And then for the next 16 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours later, we've gone basically to this 93.
Right.
That number all the way from up here, which was like 118. And then when the stuff kind of started going on yesterday too, you saw a little bit of a rise. And then they built some comfort again, and now it's just consolidating. But it's consolidating just under $100. So again, watching, waiting and see, you will see that you have the 20 from a technicals perspective. You have the 20 crossing down, and that's going to happen, especially with the spike. The 20 is crossing down below the 66, but the 66 is still above the 20, 200 still down below. I'm not trading oil this week, especially over the weekend. So I'm just going to be a observer of that. I did try yesterday, and I wanted to share this. One of my, whoops, this was not a win for me yesterday. It wasn't a major loss, but still was a loss. But I'll show you what I was thinking. So,
Euro USD.
yep, on Euro USD. So, let's see if we can zoom in here. Yep. All right. So, I'm going to try to replay this back to here. All right. So, we're looking right in this area right here. And I put this here on purpose so you can see. So, all right. So, if I click for the next one, okay. So, there's two negative candles right there. Okay. There's two bearish candles. The next candle that comes up is bullish. Okay. Now pause that. So this is an engulfing candle. Per the rule that we talked about, when you see an engulfing candle, we do want to see other confirmations. But often this indicates that this is going to head up and this is going to follow this. It's going to follow the engulfing candle. So it's going to be bullish as well. It's not going to happen all the time, but a lot of times it does. And this is, I had mentioned this before, this is something I want to learn and get better at, understanding what else to look for, what other triggers there are. So what I did is Donnie had talked about on this here, we want to wait for it to pull back to at least this candle. But if we want to play it safe, we're going to wait till it gets back to the 50 on this previous candle right here that got engulfed. So what I did is I took my 50% Fibonacci and I put it just on this candle so I could know exactly where the 50 was. So what I did is set a buy limit, which basically says if price pulls back down to this 1.16901, then I'm going to buy and I'm going to take it up to here. Now I said I was going to take it up to this front wall. A little bit aggressive. I could have said to right here, but I said to the front wall. And then I was out. Then I shut it off and went to bed. Not quite at that time, but like a few minutes later. I didn't really care. I knew what I expected to have happen, and I set a small stop loss. So my stop loss was only set to like right here. So if it even started to head in the wrong direction, I had a very minimal loss. Sorry, my stop loss was set to right here. So if it ended up going back, I was going to have a minimal loss. But if it continued the way that I hoped that it would, and that I using that rule, then I was going to have a nice profit. Well, you'll see how it played out. Okay, so good. So first of all, this one right here pulls back. My stop loss on this, it hit my stop loss and I got stopped up. Okay, so I lost like, it was low money, short money. But if I had set my stop loss properly to twice the ATR, which in this case was roughly 10. So if I had taken my entry right here, 16901, and I had changed my stop loss to 167, which is way down here. Right there. If I had set my stop losses somewhere back here, or even if I had taken the ATR and just said deduct 10, so I had taken from 169 down to 168, I'd still have been down here. This is what I should have done. I eyed it, but I was so used to, I've talked about this before, I'm so used to playing on the 4 hour because that's where I stick the majority of the time. I just saw this developing, that this is basically 1/4 the time frame. So while that would have worked from a visible perspective on a 4 hour, it doesn't work on the 1 hour. So this trade would have actually worked in my favor because what did it do? It went back up, but it never hit this wall. So you'll see it turn around. There you go. And I'm out. So bottom line being, but look at this engulfing candle. I didn't get in on this, but I should have. That was 4 a.m. That's why I didn't do it. I wasn't paying attention. But same thing, an engulfing candle on this one, I would have waited till it got back to about here. Once I saw it was here, once I saw it pull back to here and it already had above, then I would have jumped in right around here because I was like, okay, it's not coming back down to here. It's going to start heading up. So that's something I would have potentially paid attention to, but that's a nice ride. Now, what happened here, by the way? 5 a.m. What news was at 5 a.m? Oh, let's go back to that for a second. Euro. 4 a.m. It's a little bit less. Those two didn't shape or make anything.
No.
What about on Finviz? Was there anything around 5 a.m? No, looks like it's just. I don't see anything right here. I'd be curious to see what else drove that. I'm wondering if that was just again hints about what was coming out with regards to the U.S. and some of the numbers being negative and just impacting that decision because that's 5, 6. Yeah, that keeps on going up. So right now, like on this, I was watching it. It's already been in here. If it hits this back wall again, it looks like it just was shy of the back wall.
Right.
Yeah, so if it comes back to this back wall, I'd be looking to take the sell, but I'm also going to wait for the candle to close to see if it like pulls back and then closes above. We still have 8 minutes on this candle, so we can just observe what it does. I'm going to jump over to Bitcoin briefly. Now, I did see something today that I'm wondering how this could impact Bitcoin. And I don't know if you saw this, but where is it? So one of the concerns with Bitcoin from some people in the industry has been quantum computing. Could quantum computing impact like the elliptical encryption and the structure of Bitcoin, and how could it circumvent it? Well, one of the foremost, we'll call them thinkers, some people, actually the New York Times today came out with an article saying they think that he's Satoshi Nakamoto, which he has denied. But he basically came out saying that quantum computing isn't ready to impact it. He also pointed out that the National Institute of Standards and Technology in 2024 adopted a post-quantum computing encryption standard. So right now, Bitcoin is already testing on their Layer 2 test platform Liquid, or their Layer 2 platform Liquid, which they often use for testing. They are testing out different encryption platforms to be able to be ready for quantum computing because it is coming. But they're just talking about the fact that quantum computing isn't ready right now, although it is something that is fastly growing and extremely interesting. And especially on the heels of AI, that is only going to exponentially enhance what we're able to do in many aspects of just computing and technology. So it's exciting times, but that stuff all came out today.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I want to see the article. I saw it around here at Adam. No, they must have pushed it down. Yeah, so it was just an interesting article on it because it is something that I've heard a lot of people have hesitation about with regards to Bitcoin and its longevity, and it's here. It's going nowhere, and it will be a standard. So just if you again follow the money, XRP is at 135. As you can see over the past week, it's a nice
Right.
little increase.
And hanging at that level for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In
So
that range.
let's go to that. Let's go back to the daily here.
One of the things in Bitcoin, our Einstein algorithm has been very accurate in predicting Bitcoin moves.
Yep.
This weekend they're doing updates on it, so it won't be available.
Yep, and let me show you a few of those. I mean, while we're here, just to kind of demonstrate we're not just talking. um, so what we're looking for is when it first happens, there's three numbers that often come up, at least two, sometimes there's three. So you get the indication, and then you get what they say TP1, which is take profit one. Typically, that's in the 20 to 30 pips range, and then there is TP2. Now that can be significantly more, or it can be marginally more. It all depends on what the indicators say, and there's a few different things that he uses to provide that number.
Yeah.
It's looking at structure, and he's taking a look at Fibonacci. It's looking at a few different things to come up with that number. But bottom line is, it's been hitting TP2 extremely consistently. So if I go back to the 4 hour, okay, this one right here, this did exactly what we expected to do. They called a buy and went all the way up to the 200, and then it bounced off the 200. This one right here called a buy, went all the way up to the 66, and then bounced off the 66. Next one right here called a buy. This one went way through the 200, all the way up to the 66.
Mhm.
They called a sell. What did the sell do? Went all the way down to the 200. These are all TP2 wins.
Right.
The next one right here, this one, okay, was a smaller one. This would have been, I don't know if this one, I think this one might have barely hit TP2. I know it definitely hit TP1, but this is on the 4 hour. So went up, went to the 200, went through the 200, and then pulled back. So you can see the 200's holding pretty strong most of the time. 200 of the 66 has been the two lines of demarcation here. Down here, the 200, another buy, we went up, And this was right at a support and an existing support and baseline, as you can see. That line, I had that existing. And just to show you how far back that goes, that's from March 8th, that line.
Right.
But that's why we document it. It's not coincidence that that's where it stopped. Okay, so we took the buy here. This went up. This hit TP2. This one actually went up to TP3. And what did it do? Took it all the way up to the 200. So we're seeing a trend here. It's taking it up to the 66 or the 200. And this one right here, they said get it. They said go in here. Either you got in here or here. Same thing. It kept on going, went all the way up to the 200. This one shot through the 200. Okay, took a sell. Sell came all the way down to here to the 20. They didn't call this one, but that would have been a nice one to get in at. And it went all the way up past the 200 to this existing supply zone where it is kind of consolidated in, around, and below this current 4-hour supply zone. Now this indication right here, that candle hasn't closed. So if that candle closes in the next hour, this supply zone will get flipped to a demand zone, but still right now it is a supply zone because nothing has closed above it. You can see there are longer wicks above it, but
Right.
so I'm also going to mark this right here because this is the high. So I'm going to do that resistance line and high. So Bitcoin right there, I mean, that's a lot of money to be made right there. So like my son was saying to me yesterday, different things he could do about trying to make more money over vacation. And I said to him, why don't you monitor on my computer? I'll log in and you monitor the 4-hour in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
just do what just do what it says. Every time it goes off, just do it. And you don't stop. You don't get out until it hits TP2. I'm like, that should give you probably enough to get at least halfway or all the way there towards your e-bike that you want. And that's also probably going to be twice as much as you would make doing anything else at 12 years old. So again, this is the power that we've been talking about that this has. Quick look at gold. Kind of consolidating here. We had this movement April 1st. Go to the 1 hour so we can take a look at what's going on today more so. Yep. So we had this big that's at 2 p.m. yesterday. Big sell, went all the way down to the 66. Tested the 66, went back down, pulled back up, bounced off to 66, and then pushed through. Then went all the way up into this supply zone. And right now it's right here. So I'm not getting in gold right now. Again, I'm waiting to see if it pulls back to this back wall. There was a demand zone created. There's one here and one here. This one's newer. This one's newer. So I'm actually going to get rid of this demand zone and just mark. And I'm just going to mark this line as a support line and base because I don't need to. I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit. And the only reason why I did that is because I have this demand zone right behind it. And it's newer. So bottom line is this is what we're paying attention. Here's another support line and base right here. But that would be overlapping. So, I mean, one of the things Donnie had said yesterday too is that's a support line and base. So when you have this overlapping, like this is a sweet spot. So if I'm going to quickly just draw this area right here inside that square, I'm just going to change the background to yellow. Nope, something that stands out more. Black. There we go. And I'm not going to keep it there, but this area right in here is the sweet spot that we'd be looking for it to pull back. We have double confirmation on the same chart. This is a demand zone, and this is part of another demand zone. So it's just something that we're paying attention to is pulling back into that area. But good call on Einstein. Einstein is down this weekend. They're doing updates, which is great. Can't wait to show you guys next week what's been updated and what it looks like. I will not be trading this weekend. I'll be observing Bitcoin, but I will not be trading unless something remarkable pops up.
Right.
I don't know. That's pretty much all that I have today. Steve, do you have anything that you want to add?
That's it. We're at 11 o'clock,
Yep.
and we still, again, shared some of the technical information that we're getting. Once again, you might look at the chart and say, I'll never get this. Last October, the three of us thought the same thing, and now
Yep.
we understand it, and you can too.
Yep.
And really, the level of education you need, if you graduated kindergarten, you've got it.
Agreed.
We'll leave it at that.
Yep. And the first time I saw Donnie doing charts and I looked at his screen that looked anything remotely close to this,
Yeah.
you know what my brain said? Nope.
Exactly.
That's all it said. It didn't elaborate. It was short and brief. It was 4 letters. Nope.
Yeah.
And I was like, give it a chance. And then I realized that all I'm doing is making rectangles based on either a green candle or a red candle, and it just being, there's very simple stuff. So guys, this is super simple. As I said, my 12-year-old can do it. Donnie's 11-year-old's doing it. He's doing successful. As Steve said, kindergarten education. That's all you need. It's simple. If you know how to make rectangles, and you get to, it actually draws it for you. And you might not even do that. You might not even have to do that next week.
Correct. Exactly.
We'll see if that's included in this update. But
Right.
hope everyone has a prosperous and safe weekend. We look forward to talking to everyone on Monday, and hope you guys all have a great weekend.
Good weekend.
Okay, let me stop sharing.